It's so powerful. You can get social media pages, music platforms deleted very, very quickly, like within an hour.
How do you recommend planning your first tour? Drummers and singers have the hardest job when it comes to performing live.
I used to have managers of all kinds and I fired them all. For me, it was just because how much should it cost for trademarking an artist's name? So, we do this through Delgado Entertainment Law. And so what we do is we flat fee. So, can you kind of figure this out if you're going to do it on the federal level, meaning you're filing it through the USPTO? Yes. Is there a higher likelihood you're going to get a rejection? Yes. This thing takes a year. After you file, it's usually about 9 months before you get a response. And so if you've done something wrong and you get a rejection because of that, you've lost all that time. So with copyrights, I'm all about I teach you guys this stuff, how to do it yourself so you can save some money. But with trademarks specifically, I would say 100% please get some help. And then as far as cost, everyone's different. Most trademark attorneys will flat fee it like $700, $800, and then you have the government filing fee. And so for me, it's worth the investment 100% when you have a brand you're trying to protect. And then once you have that trademark certificate, you have so much power. It's not only something valuable that you can license, that you can sell, that you can do all kinds of stuff with, but you're protecting your brand. And if you have an infringer that pops up in social
Right.
media, if you have the registration, it's so powerful. You can get pages, social media pages deleted, music platforms deleted very, very quickly, like within an hour. If you don't, it's just such a nightmare. So if you're looking into it, Jake, definitely move forward.
How do you recommend planning your first tour? Think small, think locally, think close. Like if you live in, California or Arizona, if I was in Arizona, like I would try to do something in Phoenix and then Tucson and then roll up to maybe San Diego, rocking up to LA, maybe swinging back around to Vegas and coming back down. Like just try to get things small and make sure that you are able to sustain yourself with merch and you're planning these things, because it is for any band right now, whether you are a small band, whether you are a major band, touring is very, very, very hard to
And expensive.
sustain and expensive and to actually make money on, still give value. Everybody wants to bring lights on tour. You have to consider that you're bringing not just a band. So let's say you're a three piece, right? You give your three piece. You probably want to have somebody else like as a stagehand. You need somebody that's running merch. You need somebody that is able to be a gopher. So like right there, that's like six. Like that's bare minimum. And then you have to consider that if these people, you have to pay your merch person, you have to pay your stage hands or your guitar techs or whoever it is that you're bringing. Yes, you could go with just doing everything super small, but the whole point of sustaining your tour is you have to make sure you have the merch available. You have to make sure that you're getting money from it. There's other things that you can do to help sustain yourself by getting like QR codes if people want to donate to your chip jar or tip jar at the merch booth. You can do VIP meet and greets for your fans, but it's very hard to do. So I say start small where you're not going too far. And if you can make friends is the most important thing to do in other cities so you can jump on other shows. I always recommend kind of testing it out before you're planning a tour. Maybe test out some of these markets first and make friends first. Friends are everything on tour. Do you use a business manager? What to look out for in hiring a business manager?
A lot of times the business managers are the people who are dealing with the money, right? And giving you kind of oversight. So, you want to look for someone who is good at that kind of thing. Versus a personal manager, which is more of like relationships. Are
Right.
they good at negotiating? Are they good at following up? I used to have managers of all kinds and I fired them all. And it's just, for me, it was just because there's no one who cares about my music career more than me and my businesses. And so eventually, I just was better suited to handle everything. So if you are interested in a business manager, just look for someone who cares, someone who's
Right.
willing to put your agreement into a contract. So everything is just super, super clear. What's their skill? What are they going to bring to the table? And it's really that simple, guys. If you're going to have someone who's taking a percentage of your music career or your business, which is how this is normally structured, then they need to be bringing some value. It's not just because you dig Tony
Right.
and you're like, I just
Right.
love Tony, or Tony's my uncle, or
Right.
Tony, maybe puts in some effort. What if, he stops doing anything for you 6 months into the relationship, but he's still taking 20%? So just think through all that stuff. Become your own record label, which is literally if you're like, hey, I want to start a record label. Cool, I got you. Understand the entire music business. I want to set up my LLC. I want to do the marketing. It's a lot. So, for example, sync licensing, for example, music marketing, it's significantly cheaper than anything you would ever get from a law firm as far as all the stuff that comes with it. And you want to make six figures from your music career and you want to do this for real. Like, I'm going to give you what you need. Did you ever have stage fright? If so, how did you deal with it? I need to answer this. Okay, I can just speak for myself, right? It's funny, one of my first club shows, I was, what, 18? So for one of my first club shows, I just remember how much tension I'd have in my throat, and then it kept going, like through college, through law school, and it was because I was just so stressed out constantly, to be honest. When you're the boss and you're an independent artist, when you are in charge of everything, you're in charge of everything. So you don't get to, just be all relaxed all day long and
Mm,
not using your voice and talking to everyone and talking to the band members and organizing and talking to the venue booker. You don't get to not do all that stuff when you are just doing it yourself, and that's just something you have to live with. But as the singer, it can be a little bit more challenging, so that's quite frankly when I started to adapt a lot of the, like, health stuff because I was like, "You know what? It seems when I'm not well hydrated or when I have a lot of, like, dairy products, it's really affecting my voice." So anyway, so I just say all that because part of my stage fright was just not feeling like I was in control of my voice consistently, and that there was
mm.
just so many variables. And so I was just really freaked out because I'm like, I can't provide consistent performances. So that was actually part of just my process as I continued to develop as a performer, as a singer, to figure out how to deal with that despite being stressed or underslept or
Yeah.
whatever was going on.
Yeah,
What about you?
it's a lot of stress for singers, like, to have their voice be perfect. A lot of times, if you're a guitar player or bass player, drummers not so much. Drummers and singers have the hardest job when it comes to performing live because it's like everybody hears the bad notes and everybody hears if the timing gets off or a drum hit is missed. The drummer's the most important person in the band. For me, I've been very fortunate. I've never had stage fright. I was always such a like a ham when I was like a little kid and always wanted to just perform and do little things. And then I remember when I was in high school, I did like theater classes where I had to do like my own improvs and my own monologues and stuff like that. And I was fine with that. But like and playing on shows, like no, I was never stage fright, but I do get excited and sometimes I'll get a little, anxious, like maybe a little like nervous if like say like my mom was in the audience or something like that. Like I really don't like when family members come to my shows. Like I need to because I would do crazy stuff. Like I was pretty extreme. So it's like I didn't want to be like all embarrassed or something in front of
The
my family. But
The thing I have found the most helpful for me in all the different ways that I have to get on stage, right? So, my second public speaking experience ever was a TEDx talk. So,
yeah,
just high pressure stuff. And the first one was I was a keynote speaker at a high school graduation. So
yeah,
what I have found, kind of raising the bar and doing the scariest stuff humanly possible for me because I actually am like I'm super introverted. I get freaked out pretty easily. And by raising the bar of what I've been able to do and getting through it and get not just get through it, but no, like everything went fine. That helps with everything else. So like when I started to have to appear in front of judges and to present
mm,
legal argument and to do stuff that was now not just based on one set of skills, like singing or playing the piano or whatever, but being able to think and argue and be analytical in the moment. It's a whole different level of
for
stress.
sure.
So I would
Because
say
you
that's
have you have
probably
stakes.
helped.
You have actual like stakes on the line when you're representing clients and stuff.
Yeah.
There's consequences to if you got stage fright as opposed to, if you just kind of mess up a little bit on stage, you say like you'll work through that. Like it's, once you usually get going, you get going. But it's usually just probably that first 5 minutes going out. But I can't imagine like being in front of a judge, all that pressure, or having like a jury and your client. Your clients are putting all their money into your legal fees, and it's just like you got to come to bat and like not just because you want to win, but like there's real stakes. So yeah, that's
I
pretty
remember
cool.
the the attorney for if you guys remember the Blurred Lines case, the Marvin Gaye
Mm.
estate had sued, Pharrell Williams, uh, who was the third? Was it T.I.
Robin Thicke and Ti, yeah,
and
but like
T.I., yeah,
Ti
and Robin Thicke.
got
Anyway, I mean, that was a huge case, and everything was on the line, and I guess, opposing counsel had told him, we're basically going to take everything because, the estate couldn't really pay the fees. He was like, everything was on the line. And, you never know how
Music
these
is on the
cases are
line.
gonna go. You never know how these cases. So he goes, "I was basically in, like, a child feeble position, just terrified out of my
Mm,
mind the night before." He ended up winning, he was successful and all that, but it's pretty scary. So anyway, just on the whole, everyone's fear is
yeah.
different, whether you have to do it, but, great question. Yes, absolutely, and the best thing that I ever learned, especially with public speaking, is someone basically said something to the effect of, "If you're gonna get on a stage and you feel really nervous, what is it that you're feeling nervous about?" And he's like, "Well, you're feeling nervous because you're like, "Ah, I don't wanna look dumb, or I don't want someone to think I'm a bad singer, or I don't want someone to catch me, right, on, some screw up."
You're
And,
vulnerable.
yeah, and he goes, "What you're doing is you're giving so much consideration to haters." He goes, "What you're
Mm.
not thinking about is the people who really support you. They're like, 'Oh my gosh, there's Tina. Yay, I'm so happy and I'm so grateful to be here and to that she's doing her show and whatever." And so he goes, "Stop giving so much control to people who literally don't care about you because
For
only the
sure.
haters would be saying those things about you." I was like, and so for me, that was so powerful that changed it. Like after that, I go, whenever I start getting nervous, I'm like, it's because I'm, nervous about whatever this person, and I really don't care about that person.
Well, I mean, and at the end of the day, this is something that you taught me, but it was also something that I just knew from just being in bands most of my life. It's enjoy being in the moment. It's like you're not. Don't worry so much about the people watching you on stage. Like I'm jumping around, throwing my guitar around with loud noises with like my best friends. Like what's better than that? Like you guys are just having fun. Like you do little inside jokes on stage, and like that's what it's about. Like the crowd, yes, of course, you're trying to entertain, but like just first and foremost, just be out there having fun. Like you're I mean, like, come on, like you're spinning the guitar, like you're going crazy, like or jumping around, getting all hype. That's awesome. Like you're sharing your art. Like just have fun with it. The first 5 shows I played for up to 2K people, I had stage fright. Last show I played 5,000 people. I had no stage fright. I felt like I overcame after doing a few times. Absolutely. You just got to get over it. Like, and you get through all your bad shows. Like, do your open mic nights to test out your material live on like actual speakers when you're getting out of the practice space or getting out of your bedroom. I know a lot of artists are practicing in their bedrooms or in like, headphones and stuff. Get used to that kind of live sound because whatever you practice, wherever you practice, it's going to sound 100 times different from anything else. Any other club. All clubs sound different. All venues sound different. Monitors are either there or not. I mean, lead singing is tough too. Carry yourself and the music and words. Mix is always crucial. Life got real good when I had a buddy who did live mix for us. Yeah, and that was the next point that I was going to make. For singers, I highly recommend you start getting in your monitors as soon as you're ready to start performing. Just get used to them because monitors 9 times out of 10 are terrible. They feed back that are on. I'm saying that
Mm.
your wedges that are on stage when you're trying to do your live sound, you should really just get used to in your monitors and just set yourself up for success. Background vocals should also have them, whoever's doing those, and play to a click, please. With copyrights, when multiple songs have the same writers, can they be filed together
Mhm.
as one registration with an additional song which has one additional different writer?
So the rule with the Copyright Office is that when you're filing something, it has to be the same authors. So that's why we can, when we file an EP or an album, we can do it as one application, is because it's all different songs, but it's the same writers, it was the same publication date. So it has to be the same, like it's an EP or like it's an album, right? So if you do have a variant and one person wasn't a writer, but it was part of the same album, then you would be able to add everyone. Does that make sense? Or all the songs, all the registrations.
How do you recommend closing a sole proprietorship and moving the assets, equipment, etc., to an LLC?
Yeah, so if you have a sole proprietorship, so meaning A, you're just, operating under your own name, or you don't have a registration, you're just using some business name, but really it's you. You don't have an LLC. So in either of those instances, you're a sole proprietorship. And if you're like, hey, I want to put all my music and my bank accounts and all this stuff into the LLC, you just put together an assignment agreement. And so you go, I, individual, am assigning X, Y, and Z stuff into the LLC, which will have ownership. I'm giving myself $1. But that little contract with yourself, really important because it evidences the transfer into the LLC.